Hi everyone, my name is Shelby. I'm a trustee at the Agile 20 Reflect Festival, and tonight I am actually your facilitator. I'm hosting the great Sabrina and the lovely Cynthia today on their talk, and they're going to be your hosts and they're going to walk you through that. But before we do, there's just a couple of things that we kind of need to walk through in regards to sort of housekeeping and good community policies. But tonight our talk, as you can see, it's about F.A.R, and we'll come to talk about that shortly. So thank you all for attending, very much appreciated. As you know, this talk is part of the Agile 20 Reflect Festival. We are one of the biggest free festivals in the Agile calendar, and it is completely based on loads of different people, the trustees, ambassador talkers coming together to put this month-long event on for everybody in our community that we love. One of the things that we've done as trustees is we've set up a lovely website. You can jump on there, you can go and see some really great information. You can see all the videos and generally just kind of good content that can help you walk you through the festival and what it kind of means to us. We are also a free event. Nobody has paid anything to this festival whatsoever. However, we do have a donation page, and we have been very, very grateful to have people donate to us. So we're grateful for that. But just it enables us to be able to go back out to the community and really give back to the community. So if you'd like to donate at any possible time, there is a link on the slide, and we much appreciate it. However, the really, really, really important thing about today is that we do have a code of conduct. That code of conduct is open to you all and can be found on our website, but it's really good things that if you see a problem or an issue or something has affected you, please know that you can either reach out to the host, Cynthia or Sabrina, or come directly to myself through the chat, or go back to the website and be able to connect to that community policy to see how it affects you. We are all about the community and good inclusion and diversity, and we hope that we can show you that we put our hands around this and taking it forward. So it's a good policy to go and read if you do have 5 minutes. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I am absolutely delighted to hand you over to two amazing people who will introduce themselves and then walk you through their event. It's the lovely Sabrina, it's the lovely Cynthia. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Shelby. So for those of you, I think most of you on here know me anyway, but for those of you who don't know me, so a bit of an introduction. So I do have my own business. So I am the founder and MD of Agile, Direct Agile Limited. I'm a Scrum Alliance advisor. That's how I originally met Cynthia. I'm also a senior Agile coach and trainer for Maztec. That is my day job. And I'm also a trustee for Agile 20 Reflect. And I am where's Carl? Where's Carl there? I am actually also a host for Agile World. So some of you may have seen some of our podcasts. Come on, Carl, show the logo. Give us some advertising here. Oh, he's gone blank now. So I'm also a co-host for Agile World, which is a podcast and is actually a YouTube video on Agile in general and actually Agile around the festival. We'll be carrying this on after the festival as well. And I'll pass you to my wonderful good friend that I'm very, very lucky to know, Cynthia.
Thank you. So for those of you who aren't familiar with me, I'm Cynthia Kahn, and I am part of an Agile consultancy called GSD Mindset. And so Lorna and Jerry, as I said, are with me today. GSD stands for Getting Stuff Done. We help big companies like Nike, Intel, and Visa, as well as early stage startups. We have a GSD Scrum handbook, so we extend Scrum to make it for real world business. I speak at conferences all over the country and now the world. As Sabrina said, I'm a volunteer with her at the Scrum Alliance, and I have a TED Talk about how to apply Agile principles in your daily life and be happier. And that laid the groundwork for this presentation that Sabrina has seen, and she wanted to get together with me so we could give you a bi-continent look at goal setting and achievement. And so if you're interested in any of our background material about Agile, you can definitely check out our consulting website, which is thegsd.guru. Our book's up there, and there's lots of reference information. We have like over 50, 60 blog posts. As we mentioned, our mission today basically is to present how you can use Agile principles to achieve your goals in the crazy, crazy world that we live in today. And I love that picture.
It's amazing to be able to partner up with Cynthia, because those who do actually know me, and obviously those who know Cynthia, you'll probably notice we've got very, very similar personalities. So when we were discussing about doing a talk together, this is one thing we're both extremely passionate about. So that's why we decided to do this.
Right. It's kind of fun. And she's changed some of the pictures. Like I didn't have that. So every time I see them, I'm like, God, I know that's a great picture or something.
I'm the PowerPoint queen.
So in the United States, when we celebrated New Year's in 2020, obviously none of us expected to be living through a pandemic. And even in 2021, our New Year hasn't been that great. And as some of you know, or most of you know, here in the United States, we have no nationally coordinated response to COVID shutdowns and vaccinations. And to be honest, we all know it can be stressful at times living here. Right now, we're spending way more time at home, which adds to feelings of isolation and overwhelm from the fact that we're working at home. Some of us have kids going to school at home. We have younger kids who can't even go to daycare and we're trying to work at home. And we have pets who also demand our attention. Half the time, I mean, honestly, I've been on calls and remember Cody's son got a bloody nose on one of the Scrum Alliance things. I mean, like you're dealing with stuff that we never thought we would have to deal with. And then we just had a ice and snow Texas apocalypse, which added some more stress, and our heat didn't work and our electricity didn't work and our water got polluted. So most of us are anxious and frustrated right now. Honestly, I don't even remember what goals I set in January. So if you don't remember too, then you're not alone. What do you think, Sabrina? What's happening with you?
So when we've got the opposite side of the scale, we're still being affected by COVID. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking, let's put some positives, but also there's a negative. So the negatives of what we've been affected by with 2020 is in the UK, we're on our third lockdown. And when it comes to the UK, when there's a lockdown, it's a whole countrywide lockdown. We are all asked to stay at home, work from home, do everything from home and be limited. And we're on our third bout. And I think we're about 2 months in. We got an announcement yesterday with an actual roadmap of when we'll be able to start coming out. We've also we left the EU. That was another big thing that we had. We actually left the EU. So UK is no longer part of the European Union. Working from home was another big thing. So say, for example, most of you who are Agile coaches or similar to me, you're used to traveling about up and down the country, and then you're having to work from home and work out a way to communicate with people, coach people on home, learn new different tools. And then obviously who can forget Mexit? We can't not mention about Meghan and Harry decided to go independent from the royal family, but there were some positives. Mexit possibly was a positive. Billie Eilish, for the younger generation, if we've got anyone out there, she won 5 Grammys, technically took over the Grammys. We were introduced in lockdown to the Tiger King. The Tiger King went through the UK. We fell in love with the Tiger King. It actually kept us amused for our first lockdown. And there was also a gentleman called Sir Tom, rest in peace. He completed his first lap and he raised over £32 million for our NHS system. That's our healthcare system within the UK, which is supporting us. So we had some negatives, but we also had some positives. And one of the biggest positives at the moment is we started our vaccinations. So we started in December 2020. We're now getting to the stage where we've vaccinated, 12 million, or I can't remember the exact numbers of the population so far. And we've actually got a roadmap. And me and Cynthia have been talking about this, about how there are differences between the countries, but we're all being affected by the same thing. Righty then. Sorry, I'm catching up.
Did you want to do the stat, or go for it, girl? This is you.
This is me. So you're not alone. Everyone's not alone. We're all affected. Like I've just mentioned on the last bit, we're all affected by this. So according to the University of Scranton, I said it right this time, study, a whopping 92% of people who set goals abandon them. And it's true, okay? Everyone will probably be with me here when you say, what do we normally do New Year's Eve in our drunken state or non-drunken state with some people, is we decide to set goals for the year. We decide, and 9 times out of 10, say for myself, it's always to lose weight or something around that. And it's a woman thing, you know? And I actually had goals in 2020, and actually I had to pivot. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be completely open and honest here. Whenever I set my goals at the very beginning of the year, I'm one of these people that I get to October and November, I go, oh no, I haven't got anywhere near it. And I literally try and do it in the last 3 months. Similar with work and when you're working with roadmaps sometimes. But last year was very, very different. I had goals to travel more, which I couldn't do. Travel more for my personal life, not my business life. Spend more time, with my family. Well, I got to do that. That was a definite. I wanted to start writing blogs. I wanted to start learning stuff. And I had to pivot all of a sudden last year because of the changes. And it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Yes, I couldn't travel anymore, but I did have to learn how to work from home. I did have to learn to, be able to talk to my clients or talk to people or coach and train people in a different way, because you couldn't have that physical touch or that eye contact, how to be on constant video calls, how to coordinate your work. So a lot of the things that I had for my goals last year, even one of them to build a website for my company, I had to pivot and change because my whole lifestyle changed. And this is common. This is very common when this actually happens.
To extend from that, like we hear over and over that change should be expected, but let's face it, change is scary, and negative changes and a lot of changes that we've been dealing with can make it even scarier. And number one, it can cause us to lose focus. We take our eyes off of what we truly want to accomplish because we're sidetracked continuously by yet another unanticipated problem. And since most of us don't track our accomplishments along the way, we don't feel like we've made any progress, even though we have. So I'm going to give you a little quick example that I tell people. And it's like if I was driving from Austin, which is in the South Central US, to San Diego, California, which is in the Western Southern United States, for a much needed road trip that I can't take, I would use my phone's GPS as my road map. So using that as an example, am I going to stop halfway, become frustrated, and turn around? No, because I'm tracking my progress all along the way. I always know where I am in relation to where I want to be. If I hold steady and keep following, even if there's roadblocks or something happens and there's an accident, I'll arrive. My phone will calculate when I'm going to arrive. What helps is to create a roadmap for your goals too, so you can track progress and know when you'll achieve them. So as we conducted our research into goal setting, that's with Jerry Selmagrove, that's on here, we came across this definition of the entrepreneurial spirit. Whether or not you own your own business, we need to develop our entrepreneurial spirit. And each time we set a goal, because we seek a change in our life. So isn't it better to embrace change than to fear it? And I'm going to read it because it's really important to let this sink in. The entrepreneurial spirit is a mindset. It's an attitude change, an approach to thinking that seeks out change rather than waiting to adapt to change, which is kind of like Agile, right? It's a mindset that embraces critical questioning, innovation, service, and continuous improvement. So it kind of sums up how we feel about Agile in something that has to do with being an entrepreneur. So I guess we really are the creators of our own reality.
So I mentioned at the very beginning that obviously I met Cynthia at Scrum Alliance being an advisor, but I'd also saw Cynthia beforehand at her TED Talk, and she did an absolutely amazing TED Talk that really touched me around applying Agile practices in your life to be happier. And it really set with me. It was so understandable. I'm going to let Cynthia talk a little bit more about that because it was an absolutely amazing talk, and it links to this presentation that we're going through.
Well, when I presented the TED Talk 2 years ago, I really wanted to explain my interpretations of the essence of Scrum and why Scrum teams are so successful. And actually, if you're looking at it, some of it's cut out from the way Sabrina put it on the page, but you can see my original interpretation behind you. And basically what it says is, number one, focus on what's truly important and needs our attention. Focus on completing finished tasks, finished work instead of tasks, and recognize when it's time to pivot to stay relevant and competitive. Since that time, we wanted to develop a little acronym for it, which is how we came up with F.A.R, F-A-R. still focusing on what's important. A is accomplish something now within some kind of a time box, like we in Agile call like a 2-week sprint. And this applies to both your business and your personal life. And R is to take that time to reflect based on retrospective, based on feedback and observation, so you know whether you're going in the right direction or whether or not you need to pivot. Because I started applying these techniques in my personal life, as well as Lorna and Jerry, I know it's possible to break down big, hairy goals into small but significant accomplishments that lead us down the path to getting everything that we want. So isn't it cool that we already kind of know techniques that help us focus, even amid a pandemic, a snowpocalypse, whatever big thing you're facing right now, and that also eliminates the overwhelm that comes from uncertainty. So here's how we do it. We break down big goals into smaller, manageable pieces. So if you're a Scrum person, it's like basically saying, I'm going to take my epics, which are my goals, and break them down into deliverable components. I'm going to identify intermediate targets for tracking progress. I'm going to take some of that. I'm going to define what's the most important, my MVP. I'm going to make myself some milestones, and I'm going to develop clear action plans for myself based on those milestones, so I always know where I am in relation to where I want to be. Sabrina also applies this at home. So she's going to tell you, these are from her house.
I very much have been doing this for absolute years now. And anyone that walks into my house that knows me, I know I've got my good friend Jade on the call as well. So she knows what my house looks like. I have post-it notes everywhere. I literally live on Kanban boards. And I use Kanban boards for multiple things. Me and my husband Kanbaned our wedding. He's also an Agilist. So trying to explain to some of my friends that have never heard of it, that I wasn't being a crazy bridezilla by asking them to move the post-it note across the board. It was a quite interesting thing. I also use it for my home. I use it for my work and organizing and coordinating my work, but we also are doing a house renovation. So we do actually have a backlog. And sadly enough, we do have a little daily stand up on the weekend to work out our priorities and our backlog of what we're doing at home. Yes, me and my husband are like that. I know Shelby, we spoke the other day about how to Kanban your husband. This is the start. And also keeping up to date with your household chores. There was a time in my life where I was living in Liverpool. Well, I was working in Liverpool in a week, but I was living in the Northeast. On the weekend, that was my home. So trying to coordinate bills, food shops, making sure you've got a food shop being delivered to one household and then make sure you've got the next household. You know, what bills have you got to pay for what household, insurances, you know, things that you've got to clean, home improvements and everything. And the only way I could visualize it was to be able to put it on the board. And it was just so simple by just using post-it notes. And I hope some of you can look at these and think, hang a minute, I've done this on my fridge. I've even experienced it where I've used Kanban with my friends' children for their chores. I've made it like a different game, like Super Nanny back in the years where they had these charts and these little tick boxes. And I just thought, for a laugh, I wonder if I can Kanban your children. And I did. With everything. I've scrummed children. It's a game. It's fun. It's exciting for them. And they did their chores. They did it. And they loved the prize that they got at the end. When they released something and they completed it, they got a prize. They got pocket money. It works. And that's multiple little levels that I've used it on. So that was a little bit about the things I've been doing. Everyone laughs at me for it, but it works.
Well, I don't laugh at you. And actually, Agile at home is becoming a huge topic. So you should probably write some blog posts. We do know somebody, her name's Tremilia Highsmith, and she wrote something for our blog. But if you want to talk about it, write about it, please let me know. We'll post it. As Sabrina was saying, like, she used real life examples, but back to most business people and what we're doing, most business people focus mainly on their business and career. But let's face it, we're multifaceted people and we need to nourish all aspects of our lives. So when you're defining goals, and maybe, you know, if Sabrina could just, like, she knows what she could get done if she combined that into like one unified goal so that it didn't seem overwhelming and take over her home. But the whole point is to define goals for you, your family, your business, because we want you to feel better and balanced now more than ever. You shouldn't have to choose between your personal life and your profession. In this time of increasing change, we need to change our relationship with time, right? And our expectation of where we should be at this moment. So saying things like the early bird catches the worm, it stresses us out and we know that it isn't actually helpful. So it'll be interesting to see Damon John's change of messaging, because that rise and grind doesn't, we know that it doesn't work and create happy, healthy people. So Sabrina and I are going to be talking about how we use this Agile in our business, but I personally have an ongoing personal goal to exercise regularly. And when I didn't feel comfortable going to the gym, like I pivoted and began walking and stretching every day. So it's a milestone that did I do it today? It's something really easy, but we're gonna all have to pivot. And maybe Sabrina, you could give like one personal one, and then we'll go into we have some business ones that are really clarify this example, I think.
Yeah, so I've got a personal goal. Well, one of my personal goals was actually to start putting myself out there a little bit more. Some of you may have heard the imposter syndrome. I suffer from it, like so many people do suffer from it. We're constantly talking about it, and it was to actually maybe get my face out there a little bit more without having a fear of what people think of me, what people think of what I say, what people think about what I look like, and actually be proud as the person as I am. And believe it or not, everybody within Agile 20 Reflect, some of these names are on the call with us now. They've actually helped me achieve that goal this year. Carl, he's actually helped me to be confident to actually do Agile World and have my face on camera and my voice and not be scared of the sound of my voice. Shelby's like been my biggest cheerleader to say, come on, Sabrina, you can do this. So many of my friends and family, I told everybody what my goal was, and they've stood behind me and supported me and cheerleaded me. And I haven't achieved my goal completely, but I have achieved better confidence. And that's why you're able to hear me now and see me now. Because if it was about a year ago, I would be literally camera off, behind the scenes, not saying anything. And that was a personal goal. And it's not just for the benefit of my career, it's the benefit for me as a person, because I feel I do have some things that I'd like to tell. I have some words I want to spread out there. I have some things I'd like to tell people. So that was one of my goals that I feel still got a way to go, but I'm getting there.
You're doing a great job. And actually that could be one of the benefits of everybody being stuck at home. There's more opportunity then to speak. Because I mean, for me also, I thought I'm going to get my message out there, and I've been speaking more along those same lines. And now I'm speaking 2 times this week internationally, right? So that it just expands. So I guess the important thing is to set the goal, take that first step, give yourself some milestones, and track, and don't be afraid, and keep going. At least if you're tracking where you are in relation to where you want to be, you know where you are, and what if you need to apply some work, and you know your accomplishments. Another interesting thing that Jerry and I discovered when we were doing research into goal setting is that it's more than picking an outcome. It's about exploring your own passions and interests and incorporating these into your goal setting. Nobel laureates are people who receive the Nobel Prize, just so, and I hope everybody's heard of that, but they are successful people that have multiple interests. They're curious and they follow that curiosity where it leads them. They have insights into multiple areas. And when you do that, it actually helps you achieve your goals because you see a bigger picture. You're not just focused with tunnel vision on one area. Nobel laureates actually have significantly more and deeper interests than average scientists, because the average scientists view their hobbies as having nothing to do with their work, while a Nobel laureate looks at their hobbies as fundamental parts of their creative process, which is mind-blowing, right? And that curiosity is fundamental to our learning process, and we should embrace it. And that also means that we should include our hobbies and other things in our goals so that we can get a broader picture and be more creative and actually accomplish more, and maybe win a Nobel Prize or something along those lines, right? Sabrina is going to talk about goal setting a little bit.
Yeah, so the first thing is we've got to think about where we're going to focus. Focus on a clear, defined goal. What are a goal's achievements? A goal is to improve a state where you want to be at the end of a specific time period. Clearly define that goal. Include your initial assumptions on your roadmap. What do you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve it? Because believe it or not, if you don't think of these areas, you're not going to really know what direction you're wanting to go to. It's your mini roadmap in your head. Why have I decided on this goal? If you think 9 times out of 10, a lot of goals that we kind of put in place, the 1st of January as an example, why don't we achieve them at the end? Sometimes it's because we had to pivot because of life expectancies, what's going on. But sometimes maybe it's not as important to us as we first originally thought. So by clearly defining that goal and understanding what you are actually going to achieve will actually help you.
That's a great point, Sabrina, about if you're not working on your goal or not focusing on it at all, give yourself a break. Maybe it's just not that important to you, because I think that's one of the things that we need to acknowledge and stop beating ourselves up if we've changed our mind or something too. So Sabrina's going to talk about some typical goals and why they're not quite clear enough or good enough.
So we got some typical goals around there, like I've mentioned earlier before, about the losing weight, increasing your salary, getting a new job, learning a new skill, save more money, spend less. Sabrina, not buy so many shoes, which I achieved this year. I haven't bought as many shoes as I would normally because I don't really have anywhere to actually go, which is true. On that, but at the end of the day, these are normally typical goals that we normally, okay, maybe not the shoe thing, that is my personal issue. I've got a support group that push me to the stores to actually buy some, but these are the typical things that we normally do kind of put in to achieve ourselves because it makes us feel better. We want to be a better person, we want to be better in our actual career, we want to be better at home, but these are normally the main ones that people do normally go for, and these are wonderful goals. But have we thought about what we need to actually do to achieve them? Some people say losing 15 pounds or losing a couple of kilograms. You think, oh, that would be easier. But what do you need to do to achieve that goal? It's not going to happen. Obviously, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. Not going to lie about that. It's not going to happen naturally. So what do I need to do to achieve that? How do I define that? How do I map that out? How long do I think it's going to take? How much effort do I need to put in?
Without a roadmap, what we usually tell people is that you just have a wish. Like, I want to be, without actually taking the time to think about it, to focus on it, to decide how you're going to get that done. It's really, like, I'm going to drink less wine. Okay. Things like that.
Achievable. I want a Lamborghini. What do I need to do to achieve that Lamborghini?
Yeah.
Possibly won't achieve that yet, but it's making them achievable as well. Don't try and set yourself goals that is not, in your heart and head is not going to be achievable, but you can set long-term goals. I will get my Lamborghini one day, even if it's a toy car.
So now we're going to talk about how to go about setting goals. So the key to achieving goals is to start with the clear goal definition that Sabrina presented. Something that most of us aren't taught in school or business. We don't know. They always tell you have to do things. They don't tell you, how am I going to get that done? And everybody learns differently and everybody achieves differently. So we should have learned how to do that. I think that curriculum and has to change for something like that. The reason most of us don't achieve our goals is because we set goals, as we said, that are vague or wishes. And so basically we need to define our goals in terms of specific accomplishments. The key is to define big accomplishments that you can break down into small achievements and put on, like Sabrina puts on her Kanban board, so you can track your progress, just like my roadmap from Austin to San Diego, California. So both Sabrina and I are going to review an example of how we applied this process to real life business goals so that people could kind of understand what we were talking about. So one of the goals that we had last year was to increase sales by 15%. So that's a wish, as it's stated right there. But So what was my action plan other than sell, sell, sell? And if this were your business, you'd have to ask yourself, what questions would I need to ask to clarify the goal? For brevity, I'm just going to tell you what we asked. Some of the questions we asked were, what segment of the business will new sales come from? Are we going to go after a new market, or are we going to sell more to an existing market? Who is the target? What product mix are we going to sell them? Are we going to sell them? You can sell 15% more of the same thing, or you can create something new and maybe that'll be more. You have to think about that. Or maybe you just have to raise your prices 15% and there it goes. You don't have to do anything. So all of those questions, the answers to those questions are what help you build your roadmap. So after asking those questions to ourselves, we defined this goal to help us achieve an overall business goal. This was only one of the aspects, but it's using it as clarification. So one of the things that we wanted to do was to target training companies that certify Scrum, because we thought, oh, they have such a big list. They've just certified all these people. GST Mindset is a practical application of Scrum in real world business. Wouldn't it be great? They must want to sell how to apply it in a real world after you've kind of had your certification for a month or so that as more add-on business, it'd be easy to do because they have such huge email lists. We prefer just the United States because we're already in 3 time zones and we already have a Scrum in a Day product. So we thought we would use that as an entry to conversation. And because we knew everybody was at home, we weren't just going to call them because nobody's answering their cell. So we were going to start with like direct contact through business email, not spam email. So that was kind of what we thought we would do as one of the areas to help us increase our sales. And here are some of the accomplishments that we had to define in order to make sure that we were on target. So the first step was to strategically choose where we're going to focus. And so our initial focus, as I said, was certification companies. Then we defined accomplishments, the ones that are listed on this page. And as we accomplished things, we learned about our new target market. So we were able to reflect and decide if we were on the right track. Then we could either move forward or pivot. The key here is to always test your assumptions. As we learned as we focused on the target market for certification companies that our assumption was incorrect. The Agile industrial complex that certifies Scrum Masters and product owners was not interested in, that's all they do. They certify. It costs a lot of money to get the certification. And it takes a lot of time and energy to keep that certification up. So that's why. So certification is expensive, even for training companies. So contrary to our assumption that certification companies want to leverage their email lists and offer follow-on practical Scrum training, that wasn't the case. And so without practicing F.A.R, we might have wasted a lot of time. Like actually, because I am a well-known in the United States as a Scrum person, I could get in. So I talked to a half a dozen companies and not one of them were interested. So that was when I met with my team, we decided that we should focus on something else. But if you don't have a roadmap and clearly define your assumptions and continue going without taking time to reflect, you can waste a lot of time. It's kind of like, this was our MVP. We had a little MVP for certification companies, and this is how we handled it. So you can see that if you aren't functioning and practicing your business and everything in this manner, you can get off and you can be going in the wrong direction for way longer than you need to. So I'm going to now turn it over to Sabrina, and she's going to talk about her business objective of putting up a brand new website.
Yeah. So I actually asked very similar questions to myself. So one of my goals for 2020 was to originally build up a new website. This website wasn't just for my business. It was for me as a person, for my offerings. I have my day job, but I also have my evening job as well. So I did think to myself, do you know, what was my goal? What did I want my website to be? What was my action plan? You know, this was for my business, but it also was for me personally. I wanted to do something different. I wanted different offerings. I wanted to provide different services. I wanted to have the ability to be able to host events, do blogging. So it kind of did all link with some of my overall goals, and create almost a communication environment to allow me to communicate with people, but also for people to communicate with myself. And this was one of the reasons why I also joined Agile 20 Reflect as well, to be able to do those things as well with other people, with other Agilists, with other like-minded people. So I thought to myself, what type of website did I need? You know, what was I wanting to achieve? You know, who was the website for? Because I was trying to do something a little bit different. What content did I need to provide on there that would actually be interested for the type of people I'm trying to attract? You know, what was the price? I knew I wanted to keep the cost low. Hence why I got my husband to build it. Oh, it just so happens my husband used to be a web developer. Target. You know, what was my new target? What was I trying to achieve? And I went through these questions while I was looking for my goal. And to me, it was just a simple goal in my head of, I'm trying to build a website, but it was a whole bigger thing, you know, the design and everything. So I did go through these questions myself. You know, new target market, you know, who am I trying to impact? It was people who were interested in Agile, who wanted to maybe learn something new, learn something different, but also share their offerings. My assumptions was, you know, I can take something away from this, but also people can take something away from me. My geographical area changed. Obviously, yes, we left the EU. I'm lucky I've got dual nationality. So I've got the option for both. And I thought, well, actually, a website, I can actually broaden my horizons. I don't need to just hit the UK. I can hit Europe. Technically, I could hit the world, but actually for work purposes, if it came into work, I can actually work in the EU. You know, what did I want to do? Small training packages, blogs, free content download, you know, and build a community somewhere where people can kind of come back. And, you know, I also had to think of, well, how was I going to do it? There's so many different website platforms. And I'm not going to lie, I did have to pivot a few times. I actually had it on one platform that was easy to use for somebody who wasn't a web developer, who could just literally use a GUI and do it. But actually, I built half of it and then I had to pivot and change because it didn't look right. It didn't feel right. And there was functionality that I couldn't use. So I did some research, you know, I looked at different company websites, different things are offered out there to see what I can do differently myself. I had to redevelop the design because the simplistic version that I used from a template from these online places for simplistic people like me who hasn't done website design, it just wasn't giving me what I actually needed. I had to create the content, you know, all that content I wanted to come from me. It's a lot of work. You don't think of it at the very beginning, but actually that content, it's a lot of writing. And for any of you that might have turned up to another talk, I'm actually dyslexic. And me, I'm not gonna lie, I run away from anything that comes about writing. So for me, I held back quite a bit when it came to that. Develop marketing materials, emails, brochures, you know, how am I going to do this? How am I going to market it? How am I going to get people to come to this item that I'm spending so much time, you know, and then test it. I'm lucky enough, I've had a few people that I've been able to send it out who give me honest feedback and go, do you know what, this may not look right, or actually this isn't working properly. Give me proper honest feedback before I go live, evaluate my results, and then launch. Now, this is the funny story, it's not launched yet. I'm still going through my goal. It should be launching in the next 10 days. And I've given myself that target and I've been saying it for a while because I'm being realistic, because my original target was January, but actually with everything I've been doing in my life for my personal self and for my work, it wasn't achievable, but now it is achievable. So my new target has moved, but I'm more comfortable with it. So hopefully in the next 10 days, so please add me on LinkedIn, you might see it. So that's when I'm hoping to achieve it. And that's not just a work goal. It's not just a business goal for me. It's a personal goal as well. And it is very personal to me. So check me out in 10 days time. Over to you, Cynthia.
Okay, so the number one thing here is really, she was kind to herself. She knew where she was in relation to where she wanted to be. And when she reflected on where she was, she realized that she had to focus on something else, right? And so that really is the key here, that plan, just like what you're doing with your backlog in your software development projects, you need to also be reprioritize and get stuff done, but also realize that something else may have to happen, right? That's an excellent example. And so we've each told one part of one goal of our holistic personal and professional plan. So obviously you would need, if you were going to do this, you would need to complete this exercise for all your goals. Then take the accomplishments and just like you would do with an MVP, pull them out, figure out what your highest priority is, what you're going to focus on first, and assign some drop dead dates, just like Sabrina did for like, okay, I've been putting these things off long enough. I'm going to launch that website in 10 days. And then you organize your calendar based on the deadlines and take a realistic look. Is my plan achievable? I mean, every time that I have gotten together with someone to do this exact process as a consultant, they have 2 to 3 times more stuff on their wish list and in their head than they could possibly achieve and feel comfortable with. So that's the number one thing I think that people, just like when you build your first backlog or consult to a company and they always have like their first sprint, there's always like 2 to 3 times more. We can get all this stuff done. And then they only get done like half of it. Why are we any different? We're just like developers or whatever. We always think we can get done. We can. So be honest with yourself because you want to feel good. And you also look at that bottom line, set yourself up to make each goal inevitable. Because if you start out the year behind and you're constantly feel like you're racing to catch up, that's a terrible feeling. So take the time to reflect on actually where you are and adjust so that you can feel good. Because I could see Sabrina smiling. Her website's behind, but she's actually pivoted and accomplished a lot. We don't look at our accomplishments. We only look at we're late. And so she gave a great example of that.
And this is exactly what Cynthia's just said, review your accomplishments. So every 2 weeks, I reviewed on a regular basis for my example. I knew where my limitations were. I didn't beat myself up. I tracked myself in a plan, but I made my plan flexible. I knew when there was areas where, do you know what, I need a bit more time, or I'm struggling as a person with this, or this is where I need help. I'll pass it to Cynthia on that one.
Well, you're basically focus, accomplish, reflect. Once you know what you're focusing on and you've accomplished something, you can look at it. That's all there is. But make sure you're not saying, I'm going to get this done in a month. Like give yourself a shorter. Sometimes a week is hard because stuff comes up. 2 weeks, just like a 2-week sprint is a good time box. And I guess the summary, I don't think we need to say it again. I think you get it. But as you can see, you can reach out to us. Here's our contact information. Sabrina is at sabrina@directagile.co.uk, and there's her LinkedIn. You can always link in with either one of us. And I have my Cynthia K at gsd.guru, or you can go to my LinkedIn. And I think,
well, this is the last bit, isn't it? We didn't want to just make it that you were going to listen in to us. So we're actually really interested now in, so if you can unmute yourself and please contribute to us, it'd be really
I'm going to stop sharing. And then if anybody wants us to put our email or something into.
We're quite interested in all your goals that you set and may have achieved or may not have achieved it. And for those that you have been able to achieve, how did you do it? And for those that you didn't achieve, why did you not achieve? Was it because you had to pivot or because you had to change? And I'm actually going to go, so I know Shelby's got some good examples of this, so I'm going to go to Shelby first, but please speak up in a minute. It would be really, really good to hear your versions.
Yeah, so thank you, Sabrina. No, I've a couple of little things that I set myself this year as my podcast. So she's up and running. She's called Shelby Agile, which is a take on my name, as in Shelby. So I'll pronounce that again because I'm obviously selling myself.
You shall be agile, like shall be agile.
Shelby Agile. So that's up. Blogging I started to do. I've done. done a few blogs actually that have been generated by me being a trustee in the festival. So I kicked them off. They're out there on Medium. My one biggest thing that I probably haven't succeeded in, so on the flip side of that, I haven't succeeded in, I have a love of communities of practice, and I'm currently writing a white paper. When I say currently, I've been writing that white paper for about 8 months, but I've not done the pivot thing or the achievement steps, because I actually think maybe if I had gone about thinking about my introduction, about what it was, the audience I was trying to attract to it, I've written those bits, but it's just the completion I have not done. But I've never celebrated those bits. I've just gone, oh, I failed. And actually, when you were speaking earlier, it did kind of like ring in my head that I actually probably should celebrate those, because they probably will bolster me to go and complete it.
Because it's not failure, it's reality, it's life, and we live in reality. So I know exactly how busy you've been.
Yeah, and I just, but you don't think that, do you? You always think that you don't, everything is not an achievement, and then therefore you're setting yourself up to fail.
Thank you, Shelby.
Thank you.
Has anyone else got any more? We'd love to hear it. Just unmute yourself, talk away. We're in a relaxed environment here.
This isn't an achievement. This is Jerry. This isn't an achievement, but I just have to say that one of the things I enjoyed most about this webinar is Anne-Marie's reactions. As people were talking, she was awesome. She's so animated, and I just love to see it.
Well, Jerry, you work with me, so tell us like a goal that you've worked on or something, so that maybe start the conversation off a little bit. Okay.
If there's anything, I've got a friend of mine that actually, her goal for this year was actually to ride a bike. How amazing is that? She's always pushed back and said, I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to do it. She's 42 years old, and she said,
oh my gosh,
learn how to ride a bike, but I'm going to do it. And when we got into lockdown, I said, now's the time. It's empty outside. Go get that bike. Unfortunately, all bikes were out of stock. She did eventually get it, but I said, go get that bike, learn how to ride a bike. And if you fall over, pick yourself back up again. And she did. Now she can't stop. But that was another goal that she kind of set herself and said, you know what, now's the time, because sometimes with goals, they're not always at the right time in your life. And
right.
Now was the right time in her life to ride a bike. At 42 years old, she has now learned how to ride a bike, and she's taken away those fears and actually done it.
Well,
yeah, I guess
now I do have an example that is
good.
Kind of weird.
I just want to make one point, Jerry. You don't always set goals at New Year's. Okay, so that's the other thing. Like we're saying when you have a goal, set it and then mix it in with the rest of what you're doing, right? Okay, go ahead, Jerry. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of my most favorite things, and this has been a while since this happened, but it's one of my most favorite examples of goal setting, I think, is that years ago, I decided I wanted to get a pilot's license. And having never been up in a small plane, I just went out. I bought 10 lessons. They had a package deal, so I bought 10 lessons. I go up for my first lesson. And I don't know if you've ever been in a little two-seater. I was in a Cherokee Tomahawk, and it's a little two-seater, and it's just, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying, because you feel like you're in this sardine can, 1,000 feet up in the air. So I got out of that, and I thought, there's no way I'm ever going to do this. There's absolutely no way. And then I realized I had already bought 10 lessons. So I made a deal with myself. I said, just get through these 10 lessons. That's your goal. And if you want to quit then. Well, by the end of my my journey to get my pilot's license, I was doing loops. I was doing all kinds of aerobatics. I loved it so much. So I think it's just like Cynthia said, 3 feet from gold. You just keep going. You keep doing your intermediate steps, and you will eventually get there. So yay.
And she paid for 10 lessons, so that's a good motive. Sometimes it's like, if I'm going to do something.
Yes, yes.
I remember when you got your, like, that was amazing. Yeah.
Just a quick one note to Tia. Tia just mentioned in the chat. So Chopper Chomps, these are lollipops. And I'll tell you all a little bit secret. They are real. They are my lollipops. The secret to this is it looks like there's more there than there actually was or is. I actually take from the back so I don't look so greedy. And then I just try and refill so it doesn't look so bad. So that's to Tia.
I know, that looks fabulous. I go, oh, I love your background, your angel wings, and what are those pops? Oh, that's great.
They are actually real. It's not an actual, I do have a green screen being built, but these are actually real. So I was lucky enough at the very beginning of lockdown, I did have a spare room. So my husband runs a business as well. So he's downstairs. And we kind of decided there was no way that we could work together with him speaking to clients, me doing the job that I do as well. So he said, come on in, let's design an office for you. And I thought, if I'm going to be spending, at the time, I thought 6 months on conference calls, I want to build something. So yet another goal that I achieved, I wanted to build an interesting background, just so someone, it's not because I think I'm an angel and I'm big headed. I just thought something interesting for people to actually look at. And then obviously it grew. So now if I go, Alexa, turn off my wings. She's going to let me, oh yeah. So I then up to my goal, Alexa, turn my wings on. But yeah, it's just to make things a bit more interesting. So
Okay, so my Alexa was trying to answer.
I better set everyone's off. The guys I work with, Richard Cornelis will understand this. It's a constant game we used to have of trying to set each other's Alexas off. You can actually train your Alexa to your voice, and now no one else can set her off. She'll blink up, but she'll behave herself. She's been trained. So has anyone else got any? I like listening to people's goals because I find them very intriguing. Carl, have you got one? Or you've probably got multiple.
I started the year with one, and then I stopped it. I still haven't done it. So I started the year with doing a legal course at Harvard on technology, because I'm fascinated by how technology contracts work and how often they don't. So I started that course. I'm still enrolled. It's an online course, and I've got until June to finish it. But instead, I wrote a book and published it.
Wow. Okay. So you just changed your focus, reprioritized. That's the whole point. And Marie, yeah, go ahead. I was just
going to say, it wasn't the book I planned to publish, though, because the book I plan to publish is actually on servant leadership, which is kind of about the last 15 years of my experience, where I've been in control of transformations. Latterly, I've not been in control of them, but that's quite hard, and I'm dyslexic as well. So what I did was I put together a book based upon my blog, and I've been blogging since 2001. And so I stitched together some of the content from there, and then I wrote a whole load of original content as well, and that's what I got published. So it was a very strange experience and a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Carl very kindly the other day surprised me. We were having a discussion, and I was saying about how, I needed to start setting some time for myself a little bit more. I need to start doing that. And I've always been interested in when me and Carl have had discussions back and forth 9 times out of 10 before we film Agile World. And he actually surprised me one evening and actually gifted me and sent me one of his books. So I'm quite excited in the next couple of days that I'm going to get an opportunity to just sit down in the corner and actually read something. And what's even more special is to know the person who actually did write the book. So I've made a deal with Carl that after lockdown, we have to meet up because I need it signed. He has to sign it for me.
Perfect.
And my favorite joke about that is when I got the book published and got my copies, my wife said, "Oh, can I have 2 or 3 signed ones?" And I said, "Oh, why?" All excited about the request. She said, "Yeah, apparently they're worth more on eBay."
Mrs. Smith, that sounds like a formidable woman.
She is a formidable woman. There's no chance of me gaining a bigger head than I've already have.
Do we have any other goals? I love this. I love hearing people's goals. Does anyone else like to share?
Yeah, I'll share.
Go on, Richard.
And then Lorna's next. I think she was going to.
Yeah.
So we'll have Richard, then Lorna.
So I had a few that I'm trying to sort out, and I've had to adjust. So I've got some old motorbikes. I've got one that I owned when I was 15. Did it up with my dad. Went to my mum, and I've got it back. So I'm in the process of trying to do that up. And I'm not comfortable that I'm going to be able to paint it. So I've dismantled what I needed to, found a decent painter, and sent it off. So that's one goal being accomplished. Another one was I want to sort some stuff in the garden. So we've removed a great big tree. I've dug up all the roots, a huge thing to actually get out of the way. And trying to make it into a nice usable area that can be suitable for the summer. Huh. So that's a couple going on at the same time. However, the adaptation is the guy doing the painting suddenly is ill, is not going to be able to do it. I contacted a number of people. I didn't like what they were going to do. So it's like, how am I going to do this myself? Well, I can paint it myself, I'm sure. I'm sure I can strip it down, paint it, etc. But it's going to be messy business. So I'm trying to create an area that I can work in outside, but not outside. But at the same time, it was important for me that didn't take over from the garden stuff. So whereas I've planned what I need to do for continuing the bike, I've actually finished the garden stuff now, or 90% finished, because I've finished last weekend the area at the top of the garden that where the tree was, and I've got a couple of small other areas to do just to make it ready for the summer. So then I'll get on with the bike.
That is an absolutely really example, because you've had to pivot because the situation has changed, but you've also had to extend your goal and rethink it as well. And I know how much you love your bikes. We used to have so many conversations. You used to show me, yeah, you need to send me a picture of your recent changes on your bike, actually, Richard.
Well, yeah, it looks bare.
It looks different. It still looks different.
Yeah. I sent you one with the cabin, though, didn't I?
Yes, you did. And we used to enjoy, we both got cameras at our house now. We used to enjoy when your spiders used to go across your cameras. So we got Lorna. You were just, sorry, I'm really bad at names, so I will apologize. You were going to
That's her. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's me. My goal was basically learning Spanish, and I have been going at it for some time now, and I'm amazed the fact that I've been able to continue. And it makes it so harder to speak, though. Even though I'm learning, I can read it and I'm doing everything, but I still have not felt comfortable enough to talk with others about it. So that's really one of my other goals, is to basically get into a Spanish group where that I can be versing, because every time I have to try to talk it just doesn't come as easily as when I'm doing the exercises online. So I am somehow very bashful when I have to talk it to as being an adult, as opposed to being a child who's very carefree about just talking and doing things. But for some reason, I'm really bashful around trying to be verbal with other Spanish speakers. So that's a goal I'm working on.
You're in luck. If you go onto the Agile 20 Reflect website and go to the festival calendar, we actually have Spanish speaking Agile events. So you can almost use this to actually, if you wanted to, sign up. We've still got some events in Spanish, in multiple languages actually, but that might be a place where you can maybe practice your listening skills, or even practice your verbal skills if you wanted to give it a go.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I'm going to hold you to that one, Lorna, because I think the whole time I've known her, she's been listening to that. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Do we have anyone else?
If people have had to drop, so I think, an hour's it's probably good. But remember, we'll put your email into the chat. I'm going to do that too. So if anybody wants anything, they can get in touch with us. I put mine in there. You go, but you're in there, and then of course, you can always reach out on LinkedIn, message us or whatever. And thank you. And thank you,
Okay.
Shelby, for being our hostess of the mostest. And Sabrina, I love partner. We're gonna have to do this again for sure.
Yeah. We'll start arranging for the next one.
Definitely.
Thank you ever so much, everybody. Thank you to all my friends for supporting me on this, and thank you for everyone for joining. And I hope you all have a lovely rest of your week.
Been
Thank you.
fantastic.
Night all.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thanks.